Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pop Cult X, your go-to for all things pop culture from our Gen X perspective. Today, we have joining us a special guest who is a return visitor to the show, and is an incredibly talented artist whose work's been featured in DC's most recent Blue Beetle story, This Land Is Our Land, which is awesome. I haven't yet to read it, but it just looks phenomenal. Artist and illustrator Jacoby Salcedo. Welcome back to the show, Jacoby.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Oh, so Gabe and I were just talking briefly about what we've been up to since our past episode recording, and I stopped him from going off on his tangent about the show The Penguin. So now, Gabe, I'll turn the mic over to you and let you talk about The Penguin since we're recording now.
Yeah. Well, I just finished it, and I am regretting having taken so long just to watch it because it's so good. The acting is top notch. Like Colin Farrell is amazing as the Penguin. He's completely unrecognizable with the makeup and the, I don't know what you would call it, prosthetics that they apply to him. There's another character that they introduce. I don't want to, I guess, give away too much if people haven't seen it, but she's the daughter of the mob boss Falcone, and she's an amazing actress. I forget her name, but she is such amazing character. Does such a great job with acting. Have you seen it, Jacoby?
Uh, I've actually seen every episode except the last one. And I mean, like, I was keeping up with it weekly. So, like, literally, I saw everything up until, and I'm really bad with shows. And, like, I have multiple shows where I've done that, where I've just, like, okay, done. And it's, like, nothing against the show. I really enjoyed it a lot. And, like, I agree with everything you're saying. What's the actress's name? Christina. Is it Christina even? It's with the C, I think. But anyways, the lady from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
She's like
Christina
phenomenal.
Melody, I think. Kristen Melody.
Yeah. Kristen Melody. Yeah. I was really like, I loved it. And yeah, Colin Farrell is just super good. And like, speaking about like the prosthetics and like makeup was when I want to say within that first or second episode where he's like literally butt naked. I'm like, wow, like that looks like a real. That looks like that could be his body. Like I didn't like. Yeah, no, that was I really like it. I need to finish it.
Yeah,
and I need to start it.
I need.
You starting it, Danny, and Jacoby, you finishing it. Just because it's such a great show. Like I want to rewatch it. It's to me, it's I went back and rewatched the Batman, just to see like the Penguin character and how it fits in with the movie. And they did such a good job of like developing the actual character and creating a world where he's from and a cast of characters that weren't involved in the movie. And including like his mom, like his like new protege that he kind of acquires. There's such a great cast of characters that it's so much fun to watch, and it's a really interesting take on like a villain or a superhero movie or show. It doesn't really, no one really does anything extraordinary out of as far as having like superpowers or um being a villain, but it's more of almost like a mob show. Uh, it's it has a lot to do with like the mafia and crime bosses and crime syndicates and things like that. So I highly recommend it to anyone that hasn't watched it. Definitely check it out.
Wasn't there, or didn't Colin Farrell say that he would not do a season two because of the prosthetics and the amount of time it took to get into character?
I don't know. I haven't heard him saying that. I know he got nominated for a bunch of awards and like rightfully so. So I don't know. Like I I would love to see another season of it, and see what they can do. Um, I hope that he wants to play that character again. I mean, I would imagine that from the movie to the show, he knew what he was getting into
Yeah.
as far as like what the prosthetics involved and the makeup. So I don't know. Maybe they'll make it easier for him and have it, an easier process next time or something. I don't know.
I
Maybe,
mean, hopefully
maybe.
the awards and nominations are enough to be like, okay, well, let's
Yeah.
run it back.
Once you get like an Emmy under your belt, where you're like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah, that was
Let me
actually pretty
sit for
cool.
5 hours to make up. To me, I would imagine that that's like the fun part of being an actor is like becoming a totally different person,
Hmm.
like
Mhm.
looking completely different and being able to talk and act and just create this whole new being. So I would imagine that that's something that like as an actor you would be like so down for. And not, but again, I don't have to, I've never sat for like 5 hours and had to like
Exactly.
do makeup at
Yeah.
like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, the creating part as an actor is fun. Performing the life into another character is fun. The hurry up and wait part is not so much fun. I remember hearing an interview with Jim Carrey when they did The Grinch. I think
Yeah.
he did like 8 hours to get into that character makeup. I think Ron Howard brought in like a Navy SEAL like interrogation specialist to help control his mind or something like that. And the tips and tricks they use for the SEALs if they get captured to avoid going crazy during interrogation. So it's like interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. But
That sounds
anywho,
horrible.
Yeah.
I started another show. Well, not didn't start it. A new season of Mythic Quest, which is a show on Apple TV Plus, just came out couple days ago, and it picks right up right where season three left off, and it's just so much fun. The characters who I've spent the past three seasons getting to know are just right there in their crazy antics. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that show or not. I highly recommend it if you haven't. It has some great like one-off episodes that are like outside the main story arc, which are very enjoyable to me. So I that's something I've started, and I really enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to that. Haven't started Severance season two yet because that show's kind of heavy in a way, and I just haven't really gotten back into it. What about you, Jacoby? Anything you've started watching recently?
um, I finished St. Dennis Medical on I think
Oh, okay.
Peacock. Pretty funny show. Just
Yeah.
like The Office, but in a hospital.
Yeah.
Um, I've been watching Vampire Diaries.
Oh,
Uh,
no.
Okay. Can't say I've
I
ever
mean,
seen that show though.
uh,
Interesting.
it's fine. It's like just just trashy, just like well, not trashy per se, but just like over the top, like fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I mean, it's vampires. I don't know what genre. It's not necessarily horror. It's just like if Twilight was extended out into an 8 season show with 22 episodes per season, and every episode's like an hour long. So you're just like, that's
There you
cool.
go.
But what else? Honestly, not much. Every now and then when I'm working, I've been throwing on some like old Godzilla movies and
Oh,
just
nice.
having that kind of as a little inspo board and just kind of getting me more familiar with Godzilla because I have some prints that I'm wanting them working on that are
Very cool.
inspired.
Very
Well,
cool.
since you're talking about your work, is there anything you can share about any upcoming projects that you're working on or anything that you're excited that's coming out soon?
Nothing soon, unfortunately. I am working on a middle grade book with Julio Anta. It's gonna be like our third big published book.
Okay.
It's called Paco and Tiny. It's been announced. And yeah, just finishing that up, and then on to, once I'm done with that, then we're on to our next book together called Prison Kids, which is a young adult book, which it will be out in like years, like a
Okay.
couple of years. Like it's which has also been announced. And that's kind of what's in the pipeline for me, but nothing soon. Maybe I think summer. I'm gonna have a short for the Young Men in Love 2 anthology, which just wrapped up its Kickstarter last year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Keeping you busy then.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you're here for this episode because I saw recently on I think it was one of your Instagram posts about your new Star Wars collectible that you got, the
Mm-hmm.
Ghost ship. And
Yeah.
now that really just perked my eyes open because I'm a big Star Wars fan. So I saw that
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, wow, that is awesome. And I figured, you know what? What's a great idea to go along with that is talk about pop culture collectibles. So that's what we're doing here today. We're talking about pop culture collectibles. As you can see from Gabe's background and from Jacoby's background, they have a lot more than I do, but that's okay. We're here to talk about what you guys' favorite pop culture items are, a whole lot of different things, what you regret maybe giving or selling away, or if you could bring back one, one trend that maybe has gone out of fashion that if you could bring it back, just start collecting it, what would it be? So a whole lot of questions like that. But first off, let's just talk about pop culture collectibles, what they mean to you guys. Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a big question. The collectibles to me just it really reminds me of my childhood. I tend to collect a lot of things that are reminiscent of that time period for me, like the 80s. It makes me feel good. It just reminds me of like being a child, I guess. Um, and and it just makes me happy. It just makes me kind of forget about all the BS in the world.
Yeah.
So I like collecting a lot of that type of stuff. Um, yeah, and so it just I don't know, it just brings a little bit of happiness into my life, collecting, spending money on stuff and collecting mass amounts of it.
Yeah. Literally. I mean, it's like a freaking shot of dopamine when you get
Yeah.
something new.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I guess collecting, like, other than like like Star Wars stuff, I could definitely attach to like my childhood because uh, I was kind of there for like Revenge of the Sith is like like my childhood movie.
Okay.
And like I remember like when they were releasing all those figures, I mean, I just love them. Like I have the one with Anakin his like charred body, and you can like transform him
I've seen.
into Darth Vader,
Yeah.
and like that was like my stuff. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Like I love like Anakin was my boy. I mean, he still is. And what was it? I think this figure right here. I'm pointing to an Anakin figure, like
Okay.
a vintage. It's part of their vintage collection line. Uh, and like that is kind of what brought me back into collecting Star Wars toys. Because as you get older, you kind of get rid of some stuff, and a little bit out of your control. Uh, it's more like your parents, like, okay, no, you're old now, you don't need this.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, I think like the Star Wars stuff is kind of what kind of like me collecting for my kids self, but like everything else after that, it's more like just weird stuff. Like I'm just like, this is something I'm interested in, like the figure itself, and not the like brand or icon that's associated with. Like
Okay.
just like I like weird guys. Like
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are a lot of strange and unusual figurines out there. So, I
yeah.
mean, it's just like when I see like comic book covers that look, offbeat than what you normally would expect. I like collecting
Mhm.
comic book covers, really. So that's something that I see. I have a few up on my wall, but that's just something I enjoy. I haven't really gotten back into the figurine market, mainly because I don't know if I have a place to display them. But it's just
Yeah.
something that hasn't really. I mean, I used to have. I think Gabe, we talked about this in the last episode. A lot of the baseball figurines. I think they were called like. I should have looked up the name. I had like a week and a half to figure this out, but I didn't do it. Anyways, bases loaded, I think figurines. I think is what they were called, and there were a lot of sports related items, and I had those, and they're probably still in my parents' storage where I have a lot of also my baseball cards. And
Mm.
trading cards are a huge. segment of the pop culture collectible items. And I just really started getting back into that. And like you were talking about reminding you of your childhood. So it was like opening a pack of baseball cards, first time I did it in like 30 years. It brought back all that nostalgia of when I was a kid, hunting for the cards and going after wanting to buy the whole box from like Costco of baseball cards, but not
Mm-hmm.
having the money to do it back then. So it was like, okay, getting the one pack and hoping you get the best and, always getting the random same old cards. But now it's like opening it and the cards are so, what's the right word? They're so much better now than when I was a kid. And that goes, I think, across the board for different trading cards, whether they're Spider-Man cards. I think Lorcana is at the Disney game card that's huge right
Mm-hmm.
now. And they're just they're just so much more not expensive, but uh collectible, and I guess they're worth more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something cool. Do you guys do any card collecting at all?
I don't really have many cards. I do have a series of X-Men cards from I don't even know what year it was. And they're all drawn by Jim Lee.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a sheet of them that were like gold holographic. Um, I don't know what says embossed card.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
when you put them all together there, it's like a scene in the Danger Room for
Oh,
the
cool.
so I had those are I've had those for like years. But they're Jim Lee's like one of my favorite artists and of the X-Men, and probably one of my favorite collectibles would be these trading cards because um they're just so cool. They're just so well drawn. I mean, they're iconic. His version of like Wolverine or Rogue, Storm, um, just really really cool. But outside of that, those are the only trading cards that I have.
Yeah, for me, not really trading cards because it's like I'm already collecting books and everything else. I'm just like I can't.
I don't have room for cards.
Yeah.
Now, what would you guys say? Not that I maybe you don't have to say. What would you say is the most valuable item in your collection emotionally? Maybe not financially, but emotionally that maybe means the most to you. Is there any one item you could pick?
Hmm. I don't know. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm collecting has is like I've collected as an adult.
Mhm.
Um, I wish that I had a lot of the stuff that I had as a child, because I would be rich if I had all the stuff I had. So many different toys. Like I had, the Thundercats, G.I. Joe, He-Man. If I would have kept them and all like the like collector sets and all of that stuff, like I would have so much money right now. But uh, sort of have like I have a connection to. So like a lot of the stuff that I collect reminds me of those toys or those collectibles that I had as a child. But I can't really like pinpoint and be like, this is my favorite collectible or this is my most valuable. The ones that I probably like the most are the Marvel Legends that I've collected that are related to the X-Men. The X-Men are like my favorite superhero group. So those would be I have probably like the most of them,
Okay.
and probably like my favorite collectible in general.
Yeah, I like that. I would honestly go back to that Anakin. Oh, I probably have like two that I feel like are really important to me. Is that Anakin figure
Okay.
because I will say like that is like the oldest thing, or yeah, I want to say like the oldest thing I have right now that I like as far as this like going on in the background, like oldest owned, not the
Yeah.
oldest thing here. Some of these figures are
Gotcha.
pretty old, but like it was also like the first figure I bought where like when I went into a comic shop. So like it was there when it like changed like just my whole trajectory of like what I'm
Okay.
doing.
Hmm.
Like I remember like it was that the Anakin figure and a trade paperback of Kick Ass.
Oh,
Those
nice.
were those were like the first two things I got when I first went into a comic shop, and that's when like just everything changed
Hmm.
in my life, and like uh, the other thing that I own that I'm just like so precious about is I'm a big Frank Ocean fan. Um, and one of his albums, like he like surprise dropped his like second album, Blonde, and he released like a magazine with it called
Oh,
Boys Don't Cry.
okay.
And it's this thick ass book, like, and it's like probably like 17 by 18,
Oh,
like
wow.
honestly, probably the size of those prints behind you, Gabe. And it's just like such he's like a pretty private guy, so it's kind of like a cool insight into like just his interests and like I don't know, that album Blonde really changed
It's very
me
cool.
personally. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that is very valuable to you. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I think records add like an additional component to like the collectability and the way you view the value of it because it's
Hmm.
the music and the way the way the music makes you feel.
Hmm.
And I have a lot of vintage albums that like I've like thrifted that I've collected that like mean a lot just because it reminds me of like my parents music that they listened to when I was growing up, and then like music that I just liked when I was growing up. A lot of the stuff is like vintage for me that I like. Like a lot of the stuff is like stuff that I grew up listening to or like watching that like is meaningful to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So a lot of my records are a lot of like old school like 70s and 80s records.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right there. I got this one just because it reminded me of my parents watching the old 70s film adaptation of that show.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand it or appreciate the music when I would watch them watch it. So just,
Yeah.
hearing it. But as an adult now, I really like that soundtrack and so I saw it one day in a record store in like their dollar bin or whatever. I said, "Oh, I'll get that." Because it
Yeah.
reminded me of that. So yeah.
I
I
think like
love that.
Joel of Green Day has Jesus Christ Superstar tattoo on his arm.
All right.
Yeah.
Though that's actually a pretty cool logo. I can see that.
Yeah.
On the flip side of things, though, is there anything that you've regretted selling or giving away from your collection that maybe you said, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that"? If so, what was it?
I don't know. I'm pretty selfish. um, I mean, probably some of my WWE figures. I
Mm.
mean, like those, like again, those out of my control. I was a kid, and it was like, hey, we're gonna send this to your cousins in Mexico.
Oh,
So oh well.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm selfish. I have no intention to resell.
Okay.
So like, if I ever give something away, it's because it's been through multiple trials of me being like, do I really need this? Do I want this? Do I
Ah,
like it? Do I enjoy
yeah.
its presence?
Yeah.
Uh, so no,
Does it
we got
bring you
lucky.
joy?
Yeah.
there was a time when I don't know what age I was, probably like maybe 12 or 13, where like I was trying to be like super altruistic and like get all my collection of toys, and I'm like, I'm gonna donate these and they're gonna go to some kid that doesn't have toys and is gonna
Mhm.
need them. And now when I go into a comic book store and I like see all the collection of like GI Joe's like package or like all the He-Man and like Thundercats, I'm like, why did I give them away? Like
Yeah.
should have kept them. I don't know. Like honestly, like obviously, I don't regret giving them away to like charity or whatever. But I had a lot of toys. Like that was like my thing as a kid. Like I pretty much like probably bought like a new toy every weekend, like a GI Joe figure or like a Thundercat figure. And it was like such a heyday of like action figures back then.
Yeah.
Like it was like the cartoon and the action figure were like really popular, and they were like sort of worked together as like marketing and wanting you to buy them. So I kind of wish that I hadn't gotten rid of those. As an adult, I have sold some of like my Marvel Legends just to clear up space on my walls. Um kind of focus on just like the X-Men and get rid of like
Mm.
some of the like other characters that like I'm not really that into, that I bought just because I wanted to collect everything that I saw. So there's some things that I sold, that I haven't really regretted it,
Okay.
because I needed the space. Otherwise, things would be like falling on me right now, and I would be like a total hoarder.
Did you say a total hoarder?
I'm almost there. I can walk into my room and like I can, there's I'm not stepping on
You
things,
have to
but
Yeah.
sidestep to get through.
but I'm close. I'm getting very close to it.
That's fun. Has there been any collectible fad that you think is like overhyped, like sneaker drops or Funko Pops or NFTs or anything like that?
I mean, Funko Pops for sure. Like,
Yeah,
it's like you could just see them anywhere.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, why am I going to the movie theater and they're selling Funko Pops? Like, why am I going to Best Buy and there's Funko? I guess that would make sense. But
yeah,
just like that. Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, like sneakers will always have a place in time, but
True.
it's more about like what sneaker, I guess, is what's popular.
yeah,
It's surprising to me how big of a collectible sneakers can be.
Hmm.
Because I just see them as a tool, right? A functional tool that you use. Whereas other people, I've heard that they buy two pairs, one to wear, one to put on their wall,
Yeah.
right?
One to
But
rock, one to stock.
they, so it still surprises me when I hear people say that shoes are a huge collectible item. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I,
Weird.
I don't I don't know. It like gives them this like sense of high fashion when they're like kind of not, because I don't know, it's like you have these, you're paying like these fat like designer brand prices for
Yeah.
technically just Nikes, like just like,
There you
oh,
go.
okay,
That's
interesting.
true.
I kind of, for some reason, like whenever I was growing up, I kind of went the opposite way of buying the like fancy Nikes or whatever, and I always wanted like Doc Martens or
Hmm.
Vans or Converse, and like the more beat up, the better for me. Like I always was like, I wasn't embarrassed to have like brand new shoes, but like
Hmm.
they definitely like weren't my fate. Like when I got a brand new pair of shoes, like I wanted to like go run in like the dirt and like get them dirty and like scratch them up, and like I hated them like being all shiny and new.
Yeah,
So I'm like the total opposite of the person that like puts the shoe up on their wall. Like I want to like get razor blades and like scratch them up.
yeah, I like that, especially with Doc Martens, because them shits are hella shiny,
Yeah.
Yeah,
when they're
yeah.
brand new. So I was like, oh, geez, look like Frankenstein out here.
I'm sure your parents appreciated that, Gabe. We
Yeah.
just got you those shoes.
Uh, I have a really funny story because this is like how like competitive it was in like high school. And one of my best friends like went and found these like really, I mean it's so stupid now to think about it, but these like what were they were, I think they were K-Swiss hiking boots, and which is so stupid that we wanted them, but he was like, yeah, I found these like really cool K-Swiss. So like I called my dad at lunch and had him go buy them for me so that I could get them first.
Oh my
Which
god.
was so ridiculous. I was like, now that I think about it, I'm like, what was I doing? Like, why did I care?
Especially the K Swiss
They-
hiking boots,
Yeah,
like not even K Swiss sneakers, hiking boots.
yeah. In Arizona, like I lived in Arizona, so it's like, why did we want hiking boots? Like, did we hike? No, but like, but for some reason, like that was like the shoe that year. It was ridiculous.
Hey, fashion over comfort. I get it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
As an adult, though, Gabe, has there been anything uh ridiculous that you just went and dropped maybe like $200-300 on that's just, or not even that much, just like a life-size Baby Yoda toy or like a expensive popcorn bucket? Has there been anything that you guys have bought that's just like completely ridiculous?
We have bought the popcorn buckets. Like we've fallen into that trap of
Okay.
like, I think we got which ones do we have? I think we have like the Ghostbusters, popcorn.
Mm.
I think we got Beetlejuice. I didn't get the Wolverine from Deadpool.
Oh,
They sold out before I was able to get it. But yeah, that's pretty frivolous. I kind of know that they're not going to be worth anything, and like, but we still bought them. The thing that like I just started collecting, which like I don't know if they're ever gonna like be valuable or if what the deal's gonna be with them, but there are these action figures that are like monster
oh.
pigs from
Mm-hmm.
like the 80s that they're like kids dressed up in like the old Halloween costumes that that I used to wear when I was a kid that are like fully flammable like plastic
Mm-hmm.
and then like the plastic mask with like the thing is like so I started collecting these. They're like $20. They're not like super expensive, but there's just something about like the nostalgia of the fact that they're actual like replicas of the costumes that they made, Ben Cooper in the 70s and 80s. And then they're really creepy, like because they're kids wearing these like costumes and with the mask, it just makes them look super creepy. So that's kind of like what I started. I got these like last weekend. I was at a collectible store in LA called Frankensons, which is like this huge collectibles
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
store. So I got those at a booth that has like a bunch of stuff from NECA. And they caught my eye and I was like, all right, do I want to get these? And I was like, do I really want to collect these? And I was like, yeah, let me buy
Yeah.
it. So I bought like three of them.
You're like $200 later. I said yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I pre-ordered because now that I saw that the next wave is DC costumes. So there's like
Oh,
Batman,
that's
Ooh.
cool.
Wonder Woman,
Okay.
so I pre-ordered those off of Entertainment Earth and have those coming. So that's what I'm wasting my money on right now.
Good to know about that one because yeah, like a Batman one would be kind of cool.
And
Yeah.
they're really cool. It's Batman, Superman. There's like seven of them in this
Oh
wave.
shit.
And I think it was like 120 or something like that.
Oh,
So
okay.
they didn't really mark up the price. They're kind of keeping it face value. And I don't know, they're really cool. Like I legit had those costumes when I was a kid for Halloween and remember, how much fun they were, and it's kind of a cool throwback to my youth.
Yeah, I like that. I mean the ship, the ghost from Rebels was the
Okay.
priciest, I would say, right as of right now. That was I won't even say how much it was. It was like two. I mean, I'm really happy with it. Like I have it just chilling on my floor because I have nowhere to put it. Like it is literally just
It's really
chilling.
big, right?
Let
It
me
looked
see.
big in the Instagram.
Ooh, behind me. Okay, we can kind of see it. Boom.
Oh yeah, that's really
Yeah,
big.
it's just chilling. There's a Boba Fett right there. That isn't just like a pile of dog crap or something.
So I'm curious of some of the collectibles that you have there. Do you use them for like inspo for your art? Like, do you find a figure that's like, oh, this is really cool. I love the design of it. Maybe you're not really into like the character or whatever it is, like monster or action figure, but you just love the design of it, and for like the aesthetic purpose of it, you bought it.
I would say like most of these are for aesthetic purposes. I love just I have a Godzilla right behind me. I mean, I love Godzilla in general. But like this one is like a glow in the dark, and it's kind of like a creamy, like a lot of pastel, like lavender, yellow, and orange. That's like all on his like spines, and I was
Yes.
just like, this is a beautiful figure. Costed a lot, um, and like just a lot of the. I feel like just the colors. Like I need colors with the toys, and I don't know, like I'm more interested in the toy rather than what it is. Like I have a bunch, like decent amount of Ultraman figures. I've not seen any Ultraman at all.
Mm,
Like I just love that character's design. Same with the Astro Boy, Gremlins. I've seen it, but it's just like I love that design of Gizmo and
yeah.
um, there's a bunch of other stuff, and I also do like a lot of artist toys. There's these guys. This is like my artist toy area.
Very
Um,
cool.
I have like these mouse by this artist, Father Steve, and they're just like he's like a graffiti artist, but also like a fine artist, and just really enjoy those and like Cause, who's done like a lot of like bigger name stuff and like collaborations with like fashion brands and like I don't know, I feel like he's a more popular street artist and like fine artist as well, and like I think he has just a very universal uh style, and I just enjoy those type of figures. I think like art vinyl figures and these like older like kaiju figures just kind of feel that like have that same vibe.
Right,
Mhm.
right. That's cool.
Do you see yourself ever like designing a toy yourself? Like, is that something is an aspiration for you?
I would love to do that. I think it's uh not something I'm actively like seeking right now, but it's just like it'd be so cool to own a figure. Like every like I've done shirts, and it's cool to have a shirt with my art on it, but and like play mats, and that's really cool. But like a figures, like you really have to get to a point, and the probably fastest way to get there is like maybe got to work for like DC and like try to create a character, or
Hmm.
Marvel, try to get like a create a character that gets the figure made and be like, okay, that counts. Why not?
Yeah, that's cool.
But no, it would be like super cool to do an art toy. I don't really have that style that kind of like suits art toys, but I mean, I would definitely break my style just to have something that I drew become a toy.
Nice.
That's fun. That is fun. I just have a wall of your toys, literally your
Yeah.
toys. That'd be kind of cool. That would be really cool. Was there any fads like that like maybe you saw like your parents or someone else older than you get into like Beanie Babies or stuff like that that you were like, what is that all about?
Hmm. Like
I know
growing
my
up.
parents loved Beanie Babies. My mom did, and I just didn't understand the popularity of them. And I guess there's like a documentary or a movie about the whole Beanie Baby fad now, which I haven't watched, but that's just something that I saw my mom do. How about you guys?
My parents didn't really collect anything per se like that. Like they were both like my mom collected clothes and like heels. Like she's a fashion person, like a fashion woman. My dad like suits and like ties. Like he has some really cool ties that I inherited that are like YSL or just really cool like old designer ties that are from like the 70s and 80s
Oh, that's
that
cool.
they had but they didn't really I mean maybe records or albums that they had that were really cool that um like Fleetwood Mac or Santana, stuff like that they listened to. But I wouldn't really consider them like collectible and like collectors considered compared to like myself. Like they didn't have
Yeah.
anything that they were like really obsessed with. Um, but Beanie Babies were definitely one of the things that I was like, what is that about? Like I didn't really get it. Um, and I know like some people are like, oh, this Beanie Baby is going to be worth like $1 million, and like I don't know if like what the value of them are now, but I'm sure that they're not they're people aren't retiring off of their Beanie Babies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would kind of agree. At least like for my parents themselves, like they never really collect it, other than like yeah, I guess music. Um, but I don't know, like maybe like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon were the thing
Mm.
like when I was growing up because I
Okay.
never got I never got into either, and I just was like, that's interesting. Uh, I'm glad I didn't like. I don't know if trolls were ever like collectibles, like a fad. Like I don't know if there was ever a
Oh yeah.
time where like, damn, everyone's just buying trolls
Yeah.
figures. But if that were happening now, I think I would fall for that one. I love trolls. I think they're so stupid.
I remember getting trolls out of like the what is it, the crane game at like the
Yep.
World Arcade Land or something like that, and getting all the trolls into the different color hairs from there. Yeah. Or the eraser trolls. Yeah.
Like I
Mm,
think there's like a certain like I don't know, coolness to like knockoff toys or toys that are like so stupid that they're awesome.
yeah.
Like, there's there are some like knockoff toys that are like really cool that I think that I would like want to collect that aren't necessarily like made by like I don't know whoever makes toys now. But they're like made in Mexico or like made in Europe and they're like clearly knockoffs of like Superman or Batman. But they're still have like their cool factor.
Yeah.
So there's some things like that that I've seen that I'm like that's clearly a knockoff, but like it's still pretty dope.
I love those bootleg figures. Like you'd usually see them like I used to live in California, so there's like hella Mexican vendors at like
Yeah.
carnivals and fairs and whatnot.
Hmm.
And like you would always see the 4 pack of like the Batman, the Superman, and it's like the Spider-Man and Hulk. You're like, why are these guys all in the same like 4 pack?
Yeah.
And it's like, Batman's just all black, just mostly bodied, like maybe a bat symbol painted on there.
Yeah.
Like I love those bootleg figures. I would definitely be buying those like a crazy. Yeah.
I saw one of the Hulk just the other day. It must have been when I was at Frankensons, and it was like I don't know what it was. I think it was just called like Monster, and it
Yeah.
and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like I do like the Hulk, and it was like it wasn't poorly made. It was like it looked pretty legit. It didn't look like the Hulk. It did look just like a green monster,
Mhm.
but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I would like to think that the bootleg toy companies have grown with time as well. They're just
Yeah.
not like just the four moving appendages.
Yeah.
Maybe the head can rotate.
You get real fancy, the head can move.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
like now that you can do this, move the shoulders. Like the bootleg toy companies are, upgrading.
They have to keep pace. Yeah. Very fun. Very fun. Oh man. So I have just a couple quick is it legit or is it a fake trivia questions for you guys? So, um like for example, there's a limited edition Colonel Sanders Funko Pop that sells for over $300. True or false? Or true or fake, I guess.
I would say true. I know. I've been to Comic Cons. I know. I've seen what people spend.
I feel like unfortunately that's true.
Yeah, that is true. That is unfortunately true. Or
I
for
mean, I guess
example,
you can say unfortunate because like everyone places value on their own thing that they're into. So like that means something to that person. Like maybe they grew up eating fried chicken all the time.
Yeah, and they're like, "Let me cherish this memory with a Funko Pop that I
Yeah.
paid $300 for,"
well,
rather than I don't know going to KFC.
didn't KFC like release like a KFC scented fire log or something like that? Where like you put it in your fireplace and it emits like the KFC chicken smell?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, it's like my goodness. Anything for a dollar, I
I
guess.
Sure,
don't
why
know if
not?
that's like appealing or like absolutely disgusting. Like I can't like I it like could go either way.
Yeah, and also, I
If
mean, like, I don't know how many people are really using chimneys nowadays, too. I feel like chimneys are low key going away. RIP chimneys, but
but yeah, I saw that when I did have a chimney and I just refused to buy it. So it was like,
you
eh,
know, could have made your house smell like fried chicken
yeah.
if that's what you're into.
Okay, here's another question for you. So there's an ultra rare VHS copy of The Little Mermaid that sells for thousands of dollars because it features controversial artwork on the cover.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, there is. I know
Yeah.
that one with
You
the
know that?
penis.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. That one is true. And I remember it's not just that. I think there was like the whole controversy with a lot of Disney artists in that era
Mhm.
of animation where they did like innuendos throughout like I
Yeah,
think Aladdin has one with like the genie smoke and there's other stuff like that. So that's interesting.
yeah. I
Have you
mean,
ever
like,
done that as an artist? Like not necessarily that like did, but ever like thrown in something that's like maybe an inside joke or like
oh,
something that,
definitely.
yeah.
Like that's why, yeah, I feel like you think, oh, it's a Disney movie. It should be sweet. It's like, well, yes, it is a Disney movie, but you got to realize like they're artists, and like artists are weirdos. Like they're straight up perverts sometimes. Like, so I'm like not surprised that the Little Mermaid had straight up a penis on the cover. I think I found that VHS at like a thrift store once,
Oh wow,
and I was like, ah, whatever, I don't care.
that was worth thousands.
Yeah, I know it's worth thousands.
Okay, and the last question. So in 2001, there was a rare Shrek promotional toy that was recalled because it smelled like onions and people complained.
That one I want to say is fake.
Yeah.
Yeah. It smelled like swamp water. No. That one is fake. So
I
those are
was
just
gonna be
so
like, what?
Has there been anything that maybe is true for collectible wise that you wouldn't believe if you weren't holding it in your hand?
Oh, I mean, there's a couple. Supreme years ago they released a brick. Like it was a
Hmm.
brick that just had
Okay.
like the Supreme logo on it.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
I believe there is someone out there who bought like multiple of them with intention to like use it to build something. Like I mean like he went out like and would buy resale like and like pay too much for a brick. Uh and he did not they weren't enough made to really build anything with it,
Mhm.
so he just now has this giant like palette of Supreme bricks
That's
just chilling. Yeah.
I think something in line with that I recall was I think it was Cards Against Humanity. They did like a limited edition. You could buy like a box of poop, and people thought it was going to be like some special card or something, but they actually mailed them a box of real actual cow poop.
oh wow.
It's funny because I remember seeing that. I think it was like what, maybe 10 years ago now. And Cards Against Humanity is a fun game. I really enjoy it, especially when you're in a group of friends or family and everyone has that weird same sense of humor that you might have, and it's,
Yeah.
you can enjoy it and people won't get offended too easily. But it's yeah, it's just something that I saw when one time I was like, people actually sent them money for that box, thinking it was going to be something else, but it actually was what they said, a box of
Oh,
poop.
yeah.
Now, one of the things that like I don't know, like I feel kind of weird about is like some of the collectibles, like figuring out where like if they're like thrifted or if you get them at like a used if they're used basically, like
Mhm.
how they got there. Like I always think like did some poor guy like die and his mom sold all
Oh
his
no.
clothes? Like
Yeah.
I got a we went to a thrift store and my husband found a copy of the first appearance of Apocalypse, and it was for sale for like they were selling it for like 50 cents. And I was like, someone literally like probably died and someone's like donated or like sold
Hmm.
these because they had no idea.
Yeah.
And of course I bought it, but like at the same time I was like how sad that like how did that end up where it was at? Like what
Yeah.
happened to that person? Because most people that collect like aren't gonna get rid of that stuff for like such a small dollar amount. So
Yeah.
and I've been to like oddity shows where I'm sure that they buy like estate things from estates, and it's because the person has like passed away,
Mhm.
and it does feel a little like creepy like buying their stuff. But you know, if it's
Oh
really
well.
cool, I'll do it. I'll buy it.
Exactly. It's 50 cents first appearance. Okay. Sorry, dead guy.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know why your mom did that.
that's a
Actually,
great note to leave us off there, Gabe. Thanks a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. It happens. I mean, people,
People die.
people leave.
Yeah, people
People be
leave. I like
dying.
that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I
I
don't think I
do
can
have.
top that anymore. So I
Okay.
think that's all for this episode. So
Yeah.
Jacoby, thank you so much for joining us, for talking collectibles with us and sharing some of your insight into your world and of collectibles and what you have coming down the pipeline. We appreciate it very much.
Of course. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank
So
you.
everyone, we'll see you next time. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, And thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.